Hey there, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia Season 6 review, and today we're going to be talking through the final episode of the season, No Man's an Island, which follows on from the promised All Might and Hero Killer Stain confrontation that was teased in the previous episode, and wraps up Deku's whole Lone Wolf storyline, bringing him back to UA once and for all. And actually, I'm a bit bummed that this is the end of the season, because based on the trajectory of the manga, we have one more season to go maybe? It's getting towards what feels like the end. And there aren't enough chapters to make it go on and on and on. And yeah, I'm just not ready for it all to be in the past. But regardless of that, before we go any further, I would like to remind you that I have read the manga, and I'm aware of any relevant future plot points and details, although it's been a while and my memory is a bit fuzzy. But for the purpose of these reviews, I really prefer to look at things from an anime-only perspective, so that anime-only fans can watch along and join in too. And so yeah, with all that being said, let's jump into the episode. So, we start off the episode following All Might, who's returned to the side of the battle between Deku and the rest of Class 1A. Staring at his defaced statue, All Might muses on his supposed failure as Deku's mentor, and how ultimately, despite him being a symbol of peace whilst he was an active hero, he was unable to instill a sense of self-preservation in his protege, and everything seems to have reverted to how it felt when he was a powerless, quirkless teenager years before, back in the reign of All for One. And honestly, kind of felt to me that he was just thinking these words. As for some of it, you could actually see his face and his lips were not moving. So, I guess Hero Killer Stain can read minds now. Anyway, Stain pretty much rips him a new one at sword point, telling Small Might how All Might had done so much. He'd become a symbol of hope that endures even now, and that the final woman that he saved as an active hero still comes to his statue every day to clean the graffiti from it, because he was her hero, and thus All Might will endure forever. And yeah, despite Stain being a serial killer, and holding All Might at sword point and angrily screaming at him that he's not All Might and that he's a fake, this was actually a weirdly wholesome pep talk. Like a good kick in the pants for All Might. And it's so weird how you can have a character who's just objectively insane and monstrous like Stain. You know, a person who kills heroes on the basis that they were not named All Might, and so regardless of who they are, they surely couldn't be worthy. And so you take this awful man, and you make him be the one to inspire All Might again, this paragon of virtue, and it somehow works. It's really bizarre in that way, but it's great storytelling. Oh, and then Stain gives him all the information he needs, and he leaves, telling him that they're going to have their showdown soon, as Stain is still fixated on All Might killing him. And he clearly just wanted him to remember that he was All Might, to get him to stop being so pathetic. So, yeah, honestly, no idea how that's going to play out in the future, but it is exciting. Also, that woman coming back to tend the statue every day, very sweet. Oh, damn, this show can be wholesome. Then the intro rolls, and we arrive at some more fluffy, happy sort of stuff, as the boys of Class 1A strip Deku naked, hose him down, and then toss him in the bath. And this is despite Bakugo saying that they should be scrubbing him raw with steel wool and industrial detergent. Jesus, that does not sound like a very relaxing bath time experience. Anyway, this scene's just a whole lot of silly fun. Just the lads being lads, chilling out, talking about life, joking around. It's not something we've seen in quite a while. And it really cements Bakugo finally feeling like a true part of the class. Even Minetta's joking with him now. And it ties in nicely with the very next scene, where the class just chats with Deku. It's nothing serious or plot heavy, just idle chatter. And it's nice. A fun cool down for his arc in preparation for the end of the season, and the setup for Season 7. It's well paced. It's nice. And then All Might's creeping in the window, which gave me a pretty good laugh. And he comes in to apologise to Deku in the class, Deku for not being the mentor that he truly needed, and the class for running off on them without explaining, when, just like Deku, they'd all come to depend on him as a mentor. And then, in the twist of the episode, he decides that even with his limited power, he can still be a hero, just not in the same way. But somehow, he intends to be with them for the final battle, which, yeah, that's a pretty hype moment. And I kind of wish we could see All Might manage to power up for one last big smash to save somebody in the final war. Like, yeah, it probably won't happen, but since he can become muscle form for a split second, him managing to use it one last time would be fun. It's a pipe dream, but cool, but it would probably ruin his ending in the Kamino battle against All for One. So, maybe not. All Might then goes to deliver his information to the other heroes before we get another scene of class bonding, where Todoroki spells out explicitly why Endeavor and Hawks are staying away, because, everybody hates them right now, especially Endeavor, because of his links to Darby. And then he dedicates himself to making sure that everybody can feel safe, which in turn gets Kirishima to shed some tears about how manly he is. Oh god, I love Kirishima's character. And honestly, he's one of my favourite anime archetypes. The really tough looking character who gets emotional every single time somebody, no matter who they are, act in a brave or manly way. It really does strike that right balance between being wholesome and ridiculous, and it just lightens up the scene a lot. And then it seems like Jiro wants to put the band back together to try and win some supporters from the refugees like they did with the Culture Festival, which, honestly, it seems like a decent idea, all things considered. There must be a pretty bleak and depressing atmosphere in the complex right now. You know, with all these people knowing that there's a good chance that their house has been destroyed and that they're living in a refugee centre. And all the while, there's these monstrous villains and serial killers lurking outside. It's not a great vibe, honestly. We then move on from the class to get a bit of context about Hero Killer Stain, and more specifically, how he got the info for All Might that suggests that All for One wants to get One for All before Shigaraki's body's ready, basically just preparing himself. And he gets this after murdering a villain in prison, who seems like he was a serial rapist and mind controller of women type of villain. So, once again, the serial killer who targets innocent heroes is coming across very positively this episode. Stain then conveniently stumbles across the information that explains exactly how All for One broke free from Tartarus, and it's explained that they used radio waves to communicate with each other. Shigaraki for one and All for One, I mean. And the radio waves were captured on tape and read like a conversation, which in turn reveals that the body's going to be ready within 38 days, which in turn means they only have 3 days left on the counter before Shigaraki would be ready to fight, as it has been a while since the breakout. And so yeah, this scene pretty much guarantees that the story is coming to a close next season. There is no way you can stretch it out that much. And honestly, if I was All Might, I'd be feeling a little bit salty that it took Stain this long to come and find him. Like, he knows he lives at UA. Come on. Anyway, All Might then makes a direct request for the UN to intervene, but much like in the real world, jack shit gets done. Surprise, surprise, the UN. Until the US representative, of course, awkwardly states that not only has their number one hero deployed without permission, but she seems to have taken fighter jets with her for some reason. And if you thought that Deku was the number one All Might fan, you can guess again, because Stars and Stripes takes it to a whole new level. She calls All Might Master as well, so I guess she's a former protege of his. Can't really remember from the manga, honestly. I think I skimmed this bit. And then we finish off with yet another inspirational pep talk scene back at UA with the class, just, to send you off happy. Doesn't really add anything at all, it's just there to make you smile. And then the episode ends and we settle in for the long wait for the next season, which will likely be the last. So already, I have those bittersweet thoughts about the end of the franchise. Yeah, there are potential spin-offs, but it's not the same, and it's weird to think it'll soon all be over. Oh, now I'm depressed. But yeah, that's the end of the episode, and the end of the season, and thus the end of the review. And I would like to remind you that these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the episode? You like it? Hate it? What about the season as a whole? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.